Okay, so for this lesson, we're going to be given the equation and we're going to be asked to find the period from the equation. So when I wrote the whole general equation out at the top, I just decided to put sine instead of cosine, but it really could be either one depending on what you're given. And if you remember from the past lessons, A out in front is the amplitude, B is the frequency, and that's out in front of the X. We never dealt with adding C on for a horizontal shift in Algebra 2, and at the very end, we add on the midline of our graph. So if we're asked to find the period of our equation, we know that the period deals with the frequency. So we're going to be using this B that's right out in front of our X. We don't have to worry about what's added on to the X at all. Our formula to find B when we were going in the reverse order was B equals 2 pi divided by the period. But this time we're going to be working in the flip-flop direction. We want to find the period when we're given B. So we're going to rewrite this formula. If I want the P to be all by itself, I need to get it out of the fraction. I'm going to multiply P by both sides. P on top and bottom crosses out. I now have P times B equals 2 pi. Oh. That's a horrible 2, but it's okay. And then we want to get the P by itself again, so we divide both sides by B. And our new formula to find the period when we're given the B in the equation is we're going to do 2 pi on top and divide it by B. And that's what we'll be using for each of these. So this first example, I'm going to write my formula at the top, P equals 2 pi divided by B. I need to figure out what the B is in my formula, and that's that value right out in front of X. So we're going to be using pi as our B. So filling in 2 pi divided by our B, which was pi. We have 2 pi over pi. We need to simplify it before we put it as our answer for the period. So there's pi on top and bottom. They'll cancel out, and our period is simply just 2. We can do the same thing for the next example. We'll write our formula out. My pen is messing up a little bit. P equals 2 pi divided by the frequency. We're going to find B, the frequency, in our general equation. And we can see that that value right out in front of the X is 4. So I'm going to fill in 4 into my formula. 2 pi divided by the frequency I just found was 4. And we have to keep simplifying. So I have 2/4 as a fraction. I know that simplifies down to 1/2. Pi is still on top. And it's unnecessary to leave 1 in the numerator still, so I'll just do pi over 2. For our next example, we'll write the formula down again. P equals 2 pi divided by B. We can see here that we have inside our parentheses 4x over 7, which is simply the same thing as saying 4/7 times x. So our B is still 4 over 7. So now I can take my formula 2 pi divided by 4/7. And I don't like writing my dividing with fractions like that. I'm going to write it out as 2 pi divided by 4/7 this way instead. And now we can do our keep, change, flip. We're going to keep 2 pi as 2 pi over 1. Change the division symbol into multiplication, and then flip that last fraction. So it's 7 over 4. Now we can simplify this. We have 2 and 4 on the top. They're both divisible by 2. Divide 2 by 2. There's nothing left. 4 divided by 2 leaves me with 2. Pi times 7 in my numerator. I'm going to do the 7 first so that it's 7 pi. 1 times 2 in my denominator is 2. So my period is 7 pi over 2. And then our last example, we're still going to do period equals 2 pi divided by the frequency. The frequency in this example is 6 pi over 7. We don't have to worry about what's added or subtracted onto the x, just by what's multiplied out in front. So we are going to do 2 pi divided by 6 pi over 7. I'm going to do keep, change, flip. So keep the first 2 pi as 2 pi over 1. Change the division into multiplication. Flip the second fraction, 7 over 6 pi. I see that there's a pi on top and bottom that'll cancel out. I see that 2 and 6 are both divisible by 2. Divided by 2, that leaves me with nothing. Divided by 2, that leaves me with 3. Multiply across the top, I only have 7 left. Multiply across the bottom, 1 times 3, I only have 3 left. So 7/3 is my period.